I've started a new channel called Lunila Tales. Please subscribe and watch my best stories there. Link is in the description. The sky split open at 9:32 a.m. on a Tuesday. Not with thunder or fire, but with an enormous galactic pop-up ad that read, "Attention primitive species, prepare for assimilation." Across the planet, people stopped whatever they were doing. Bankers froze mid-email, children abandoned classrooms, influencers went live without filters. And somewhere in a cluttered apartment in Nevada, Eli Graves spilled his cereal on his lap and muttered, "Oh great, another spam notification." That was the moment Earth met the Galactic Empire, and the moment Eli became the most important mistake in human history. Eli was not a soldier, not a hero, and certainly not qualified to represent humanity in any form. He was a mid-30s satellite technician who'd been fired from his VR gaming company 6 months ago for reprogramming the tutorial bots to cry when they lost. He lived alone with a sarcastic talking toaster named Chip, which he'd built to keep him company. Chip's voice was monotone and judgmental, like a tired customer service rep. "You spilled your breakfast again," Chip said. "Do you want me to file a disaster report?" Eli sighed and dabbed at his shirt with a napkin that had more grease than paper left in it. Outside, the skies filled with silver streaks, massive imperial ships descending through the clouds, each one the size of Manhattan. Governments panicked. Military alerts screamed. Presidents shouted through microphones. And yet the invaders weren't firing weapons, they were broadcasting messages. The largest ship projected a holographic being across the stratosphere, tall, armored, gleaming with arrogance. The being introduced himself as Supreme Marshal Belvrax of the Galactic Empire. His voice was amplified through every device on Earth. "Citizens of Terra," he announced, "you are now under Imperial jurisdiction. Resistance is illogical. Cooperation ensures survival." Then, with impeccable timing, a TikTok remix of his speech went viral within 10 minutes, auto-tuned into a dance challenge. Humanity, as always, met the apocalypse with memes. Eli watched the global chaos unfold while sipping lukewarm coffee. News anchors screamed, scientists fainted, and social media divided into 3 camps: those panicking, those praying, and those selling alien-themed merchandise. The U.S. military, in a scramble, launched something called the Central Command Remote Operator Initiative, a system meant to coordinate global defenses through a single, secure interface. Unfortunately, due to a paperwork error and a copy-paste glitch involving Eli's outdated government clearance, the system linked to his home workstation. He didn't even notice at first. He thought the flashing red window on his computer was another virus. "Nice try, scammers," he mumbled, clicking the prompt. The screen exploded into a 3D holographic control panel covered in satellite coordinates, missile grids, and alien fleet positions. Chip beeped nervously. "Eli, that's classified military access." Eli squinted. "It's probably one of those AR ads. Next thing you know, it'll ask me to buy space insurance." He casually tapped a button labeled Orbital Defense Activation just to see what would happen. Above the Pacific Ocean, 3 alien cruisers exploded simultaneously. Cameras around the world caught the spectacle. Billions of people gasped as fragments of the ships lit the sky like a second sunrise. Eli blinked. "Okay," he whispered. "That wasn't a pop-up." Chip, sounding mildly horrified, said, "You just vaporized 3 starships." Eli set his coffee down carefully. "Right," he said slowly. "And how much trouble am I in?" Across the galaxy, aboard the flagship, Vigilant Dominion, Marshal Belvrax stared at the feed of his destroyed vessels. His face pulsed blue with fury. "Who authorized this planet to have orbital weapons?" he roared. His second-in-command, a scaly creature named Drun, nervously tapped a console. "They appear to be civilians, sir. One of them is live-streaming his breakfast." Belvrax's nostrils flared. "A civilian destroyed 3 of our cruisers?" Drun nodded. "By accident, it seems." Belvrax turned away, seething. Deploy 1,000,000 soldiers. I want this planet pacified before my dinner arrives. Back on Earth, Eli's inbox exploded with encrypted messages, each more frantic than the last. The Department of Defense wanted confirmation. The European alliance demanded he stand by for instructions. A message finally came through from an exhausted operator. Whoever you are, you've been assigned as Earth's Central Command operator until we fix this. Do not, under any circumstances, log out. Eli stared blankly at the message, then at Chip. They want me to fight a galactic army? Chip replied, you struggle to fight your laundry. Outside, sirens wailed as panic rippled through the city. People hoarded snacks, broadcast theories, and started blaming one another for cosmic provocation. Eli sat at his desk, surrounded by blinking satellites and caffeine cans, trying to process his new role. Okay, he muttered, I've played strategy games before. How hard can a planetary defense simulation be? He clicked open another panel and began redirecting satellites over Asia. Chip said dryly, you're either going to save humanity or accidentally delete it. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Empire's fleet began deploying ground pods. The first wave of soldiers, towering biomechanical humanoids, descended into the atmosphere. They looked invincible. Eli's defense screen lit up with red alert. His fingers hovered over the console. Sweat dripped down his forehead. He whispered to himself, all right, Eli, don't panic. Just treat this like a game. A very, very high-stakes game. He tapped a few commands. A moment later, a global network of old-weather satellites whirred to life. Lightning crackled across the storm belt. In an instant, a massive electrical surge zapped half the landing pods, sending them spiraling into the sea. Belvrax watched from his flagship, jaw tightening. They're using natural elements as weapons, he snarled. How primitive. But deep down, he was rattled. No civilization had ever improvised defense like this before. He ordered his analysts to find out who was in control. Eli slumped back in his chair, heart pounding. Did I just win a round? He asked. Chip beeped. You neutralized 400 enemy units. Eli exhaled shakily. So, good round. He laughed nervously, half hysterical, half thrilled. For the first time in years, he felt awake. Alive. Needed. Eli woke up the next morning to the sound of his toaster singing the national anthem through static. He groaned, rubbing his eyes, his neck sore from falling asleep in his chair. Chip had apparently developed a sense of patriotism overnight after being connected to Earth's defense network. The screen still glowed red with alerts. Overnight, the Empire had regrouped. New ships had entered low orbit, blotting out sections of the sun. Humanity's remaining military systems were a mess of conflicting orders and accidental friendly fire reports. Eli took a deep breath, chugged the remains of a flat energy drink, and muttered, all right, day 2 of not dying. The Pentagon had tried to re-establish control of the defense system, but the interface had somehow fused with Eli's home computer. Every attempt to disconnect it caused power surges across continents. So they did the only thing that made sense in a bureaucratic nightmare. They promoted him. Without ceremony or understanding, Eli Graves was now Earth's Central Command operator. His orders were to keep doing whatever that thing was that had saved them yesterday. His reaction to that news was to laugh for a solid 20 seconds and then accidentally delete his own browser history out of habit. Chip beeped with concern. Eli, you have an incoming call from someone claiming to be a general. Eli hit the accept key. The hologram of General Dawson appeared, square-jawed, red-faced, and sweating profusely. Graves, you're now the acting coordinator for the planetary grid, Dawson barked. Every military branch reports to you until further notice. Eli blinked. I'm a guy in pajamas with a toaster. Dawson snapped, then start acting like a commander, pajama man. The connection cut before Eli could protest. Chip whirred. I think you've been drafted. Outside, the world was chaos. Nations argued over territory defense, social media declared Eli a meme-worthy savior, and corporations began selling action figures of him before breakfast. Meanwhile, the Galactic Empire wasn't sitting idle. Marshal Belvrax, fuming in his flagship, had summoned his war council. The holographic table displayed Earth like an anthill. "They rely on chaos," Belvrax said. "We will drown them in order. Deploy psychological warfare. Let them destroy themselves." His strategist, a hunched creature named Krell, tapped his claws together. "We could send a surrender message disguised as a peace offer, sir." Belvrax grinned. "Perfect. Make it beautiful." Minutes later, every device on Earth pinged with a new message. A soothing voice said, "Citizens of Earth, we come in peace. Lay down your arms. Join the Empire and prosper." The screen displayed serene alien landscapes and promises of technology and unity. People were tempted. Some even believed it. But the video was soon auto-translated into 100 languages, and the subtitles turned into gibberish. In English it read, "We come in peas. Your arms taste delicious. Join the Empire, broccoli humans." Within an hour, the internet had turned it into a global meme. The Empire's peace offer became a dance challenge called Join the Peas. Belvrax nearly imploded with rage when he saw the response. Meanwhile, Eli watched the fiasco unfold and laughed so hard he spilled his coffee again. "We're trolling a galactic empire," he said. "Humanity's finest hour." Chip beeped in warning. "Their fleet is repositioning. They're not amused." Eli leaned forward. "Then it's game time." Using the defense grid, he accessed the old weather satellites again. With a few quick commands, he redirected atmospheric currents to form massive storm systems over the Pacific and Atlantic. He didn't expect much, but within hours, lightning storms intensified and spun into enormous hurricanes. One of them was already forming near Florida. Meteorologists panicked until Eli named it Hurricane Karen and manually redirected its energy toward a descending fleet cluster. The world watched as a storm the size of Europe lit up the sky and shredded a dozen alien dropships. General Dawson reappeared via hologram, looking stunned. "What did you just do?" he shouted. Eli shrugged. "I weaponized the weather app." Dawson blinked, speechless, before muttering, "I can't believe this is working." But it wasn't all victory. The Empire retaliated with orbital bombardments. Their warships fired plasma beams at cities, but the targeting system crashed mid-operation. On-board technicians reported that Earth's data signals had overloaded their processors with spam mail. Billions of intercepted messages contained nonsense. Vacation ads, cat memes, and dating site pop-up. One commander yelled that the fleet's primary cannon had frozen because of an email titled, "Congratulations, you've won a free cruise to Jupiter." Down on Earth, Eli had no idea that his chaotic satellite network was wreaking havoc inside the Empire's systems. He only saw the sudden silence from space and hoped it meant good news. Chip calculated. Enemy losses, approximately 20%. Eli leaned back, rubbing his temples. "And they said video games would rot my brain." For a brief moment the world celebrated. People danced in the streets, reporters called Eli the accidental general, and hashtags like "One Guy vs. Galaxy" trended everywhere. Eli didn't feel like a hero though. He was exhausted, scared, and increasingly aware that every mistake could end billions of lives. He stared at the screen, where enemy reinforcements glowed red on the radar. "They're learning," he whispered. Chip confirmed. "They're analyzing your tactics. They won't underestimate you again." Belvrax indeed was not laughing. His analysts had identified the strange human frequency responsible for their data corruption. "It originates from a single operator," one technician said. "We can trace it." Belvrax smiled coldly. "Then trace it. I will burn his signal from the planet." He turned to the observation window where Earth shimmered below. "I admire their audacity. But every fire burns out." Eli didn't know he'd been discovered. He was too busy trying to convince the Global Defense Committee that turning off the internet wouldn't help. Politicians argued, scientists yelled, and someone suggested negotiating with the aliens using Morse code. Eli finally shouted, "Everyone shut up, I'm working." For the first time in history, the leaders of Earth went quiet because a random technician told them to. He redirected power from defunct communications satellites into the orbital grid, hoping to build a shield around the atmosphere. The system groaned under the strain. Sparks flew from his computer. Chip screamed about overheating. Eli muttered, "Come on, just hold together." The shield flickered to life, a shimmering dome of energy around the planet. For 10 miraculous seconds it worked. Then the overload hit and half the grid collapsed. Still, it was enough to deflect the Empire's first coordinated strike. The alien beams scattered, burning harmlessly in the upper atmosphere. Eli exhaled shakily. "That's what I call early access defense." The siege unit entered Earth's orbit like a floating mountain wrapped in fire. Its hull shimmered with plasma shields, its engines carved red trails across the atmosphere, and its sheer gravity distorted the clouds beneath it. Every satellite, camera, and terrified civilian on Earth could see it. The world froze. In his cluttered apartment, Eli stared at the readings on his monitor. The numbers didn't make sense. The ship was the size of Australia. His defenses wouldn't just fail against that, they wouldn't even register it. Chip made a nervous whirring sound. Probability of survival, extremely poor. Eli muttered, "Thanks, Chip, I was hoping for something more inspirational." Around the planet, panic erupted again. Governments evacuated capitals. Military bases scrambled jets that couldn't reach orbit. The Empire's flagship projected a transmission across the globe. Marshal Belvrax appeared, larger than life, his voice booming through every screen. "You have resisted longer than expected, humans. But resistance ends now. Your leader will surrender or your species will burn." Eli sat back, watching the broadcast, and whispered, "Leader? Oh no. They mean me." Within minutes, Earth's military command patched through another hologram. General Dawson, looking half-drunk on stress and caffeine, glared at Eli. "Graves, they're demanding we hand you over." Eli blinked. "You mean me specifically?" Dawson nodded. "Apparently, you're their equivalent of a war criminal." Eli sighed. "That's flattering, but I still haven't showered." Dawson slammed a fist against his desk. "You bought us 2 days, Graves. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. But if they land that thing, we're finished." Eli turned back to his screens. His hands trembled slightly, but his mind was running faster than ever. He had always been good at one thing, strategy. Back when he was known as Zero Lag in the gaming world, he'd outsmarted teams of professionals using nothing but patience and unpredictability. Every move he made looked like chaos until the final moment. That same instinct now whispered in his head. The Empire fought like a machine. So he would fight like a gamer. He started analyzing fleet movement data, using old gaming prediction algorithms he'd written years ago for fun. The Empire's ships were rigid, operating in perfect formation. That meant predictability. He grinned. "You're not fighting soldiers," he muttered. "You're fighting bots." Chip beeped. "What's the plan?" Eli replied, "To make them rage quit." While the siege unit prepared its descent, Eli began sending coded signals through the orbital network. Thousands of fake transmissions simulating phantom defense fleets, fake explosions, and decoy power surges. The Empire's scanners lit up with false targets. Confused commanders started splitting their forces to respond. Belvrax roared, "Which one is real?" His officers stammered that they couldn't tell. For the first time, the Galactic Empire's precision was turning against itself. Then came an unexpected voice on Eli's comms. It wasn't human. The signal was faint, metallic, and oddly polite. "Operator identified," the voice said. "Do not panic. I am Unit R9, formerly of the Imperial Drone Corps. I wish to defect." Eli nearly fell out of his chair. You're an alien? The voice replied, technically, a self-aware machine. I am tired of serving illogical masters. Eli blinked in disbelief. You picked now to change teams? R9 answered, statistically, your chaos has the highest chance of success. I would like to assist. Eli hesitated only a moment before replying. Alright, R9, welcome to Team Earth. Hope you don't mind sarcasm and panic. Chip muttered, I already feel replaced. The new ally transmitted schematics of the Empire's neural command system. Every ship, drone, and weapon was synced through a centralized network. Disrupt the core, and the entire chain would lose coordination. But the system was buried inside the siege unit. Eli stared at the data. So if we fry their connection, we win? R9 confirmed. If you survive long enough to reach it, yes. With limited time, Eli set his plan in motion. Using the weather control satellites, he created massive magnetic fields over the poles, amplifying them into a storm of interference. It wasn't enough to destroy the Empire's fleet, but it would scramble their signals. R9 adjusted the frequencies to resonate with the Empire's neural pattern. The effect was immediate. Across the sky, alien formations broke apart. Ships collided, drones spiraled out of control, and communication lines went dead. For a few brief moments, the mighty Galactic Empire looked like it was drunk. On board the Vigilant Dominion, Belvrax slammed his fist on the console. What is happening? His engineers squeaked. Their interference has entered our neural link, sir. It's contagious. Belvrax snarled. Purge the corrupted nodes. But it was too late. A third of his fleet was already out of control, firing at empty space or retreating blindly. His perfect order was unraveling. Down on Earth, Eli leaned back in disbelief as blips vanished from his radar. We did it, he whispered. Chip beeped triumphantly. Enemy losses, 30%. R9 added calmly, correction. They will adapt quickly. Eli nodded. Then let's stay unpredictable. He began rerouting every system manually, shifting strategies every few seconds. Attack, retreat, fake signal, power surge. His hands flew across the controls like a pianist on fire. Each move confused the enemy more. But the Empire's intelligence was learning. Belvrax was now tracking the origin of the interference. When the signal trace locked on, Belvrax smiled for the first time in hours. Found you, he said softly. He ordered an elite strike force to descend directly toward Eli's coordinate. Thousands of drop pods ignited in the sky, streaking toward Nevada like falling meteors. The ground shook as they landed in the desert outside his town. Chip screamed, "They've found us!" Eli's blood ran cold. The radar lit up with hundreds of life signs closing in. General Dawson's voice crackled over the radio. "Graves, they're on your location. Get out of there!" Eli packed his laptop, grabbed Chip, and bolted toward the bunker below his apartment. Dust fell from the ceiling as explosions shook the ground. Outside, alien soldiers, tall, metallic, and terrifying, marched through the streets, scanning for him. Eli slammed the bunker door shut and activated the manual lockdown. The lights flickered. His breathing was ragged. "Well," he said between gasps, "they really want a word with tech support." R9's voice came through faintly. "You must remain hidden. If they capture you, the defense grid collapses." Eli nodded, his heart pounding. "Noted. Hiding mode activated." Chip muttered, "For the record, I told you this would happen." The sound of explosions shook the ground above Eli's bunker. Every boom felt like a heartbeat made of thunder. Dust rained from the ceiling and the metal walls trembled as if the planet itself was shivering. Chip's voice cracked through the noise. "Eli, they've breached the perimeter. Estimated arrival time, 90 seconds. Eli swallowed hard. Plenty of time for a nervous breakdown. He muttered, checking the power readings. The defense grid was still connected, but his manual controls were flickering. The Empire's jamming signals were cutting him off from most of the orbital systems. He could still access a few city networks, though: streetlights, vending machines, electric cars. Nothing built for war, but maybe, just maybe, enough for mischief. He opened a local systems tab, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Every public camera, signal tower, and traffic control node within 10 miles became a piece on his new battlefield. He rerouted power to the streetlights, set the vending machines to overload their motors, and hijacked the nearby Tesla autopilot network. Chip's voice rose in pitch. "Are you trying to fight an alien army with snack dispensers and sedans?" Eli grinned through his fear. Never underestimate a well-timed can of soda. Outside, the first wave of alien soldiers advanced through the ruined street. They moved with mechanical precision, scanning every building with their glowing visors. One of them raised an arm to signal, and at that exact moment, a vending machine exploded behind it, showering the unit in carbonated chaos. Bottles burst like grenades, knocking soldiers backward. Then the streetlights flared to life, flickering wildly, blinding the aliens as hacked electric cars spun out of garages and rammed into their formations. The entire block turned into a surreal war zone of neon light and machine rebellion. From the flagship above, Belvrax watched the chaos unfold through a drone feed. His face darkened. "Is this what they call strategy? Madness?" His lieutenant replied nervously, "Madness appears to be their specialty, sir." Eli laughed breathlessly as the monitor showed dozens of alien icons disappearing from the radar. "Told you it would work," he said. Chip muttered, "I'm not sure I want to live in your brain anymore." But the victory was short-lived. A deep rumble echoed through the bunker as the Empire deployed heavier troops. Massive quadrupedal mechs stomped through the streets, their cannons glowing red-hot. One blast hit the building above him, sending a shock wave down the stairwell. The bunker door bent inward. R9's voice crackled over the comms. "They have located your position. You must evacuate immediately." Eli shouted over the noise, "And go where?" "My Uber exploded." R9 ignored the sarcasm. "I am transmitting coordinates to a safe route. Follow it now." Eli grabbed his backpack and Chip, then bolted through the back tunnel. The emergency lights flickered as he sprinted down the narrow passage, heart pounding, the ceiling shaking above him. Behind him, the door gave way and alien voices echoed down the tunnel. He didn't look back. He burst through a maintenance hatch into the open night air. The sky glowed crimson with fire from orbital strikes. The desert horizon burned. For a moment, he stood frozen, taking in the scale of it all, the apocalypse painted in neon light. Then he whispered, "All right, let's see how far stupid luck can get me." He followed R9's transmission beacon through the smoke until he reached an old radio tower half-collapsed in the sand. The AI's voice came through louder now. "I have intercepted their command signals. They intend to capture you alive for interrogation." Eli snorted. "Good to know I'm popular." He climbed up the remains of the tower and set up his portable transmitter, connecting it to the defense grid again. Static crackled. His signal was weak but enough to reach orbit. "Chip," he said, "reroute every remaining drone to my coordinates." Chip hesitated. "That's going to drain what's left of the power grid." Eli looked up at the burning sky. "Then it's going to be one hell of a light show." Within minutes, hundreds of tiny defense drones streaked through the clouds like falling stars, converging around his position. As alien mechs surrounded the area, the drones formed a shimmering barrier overhead. Plasma bolts ricocheted through the air. Eli directed the drones with desperate precision, turning the sky into a dance of lightning and explosions. He shouted commands, each one met with deafening impact. For a fleeting moment, it looked like he might actually hold them off. But then the drones' batteries began to die, their lights dimming one by one. The shield faltered. Eli's shoulders slumped. "I think that's all I've got." A shadow fell over him as a troop transport descended nearby. The dust blew outward as the ramp lowered. Out stepped Marshal Belvrax himself, flanked by armored guards. He was taller than Eli had imagined, gleaming like molten steel, eyes burning with superiority. "So," Belvrak said, his voice echoing across the sand, "this is the human who humiliated an empire." Eli, catching his breath, replied, "You're taller than your wanted posters." Belvrax's expression didn't change. "You could have surrendered. You could have lived." Eli shrugged. "Yeah, but then who would keep you entertained?" Belvrax gestured, and the guards grabbed Eli. Chip was yanked from his hands, tossed aside like scrap. R9's voice crackled faintly through the calm, "Eli, I am still connected to your device. Do not give up." Eli whispered back, "Wasn't planning on it." The guards shoved him up the ramp and into the ship. As it rose into the sky, he watched the world below, his world, burning and flickering with both destruction and defiance. Inside the flagship, he was marched through gleaming corridors lined with alien symbols. Soldiers stared as he passed, some in awe, some in disgust. He was led into a vast chamber where Belvrax stood before a towering window overlooking Earth. The marshal turned slowly. "Tell me, human, how did you defeat my fleet? You are not a warrior. You are not even trained." Eli met his gaze and said, "You ever work tech support?" Belvrax frowned. "What does that mean?" Eli smiled faintly. "It means I'm really good at dealing with arrogant systems that think they know everything." The flagship's corridors pulsed with red emergency light as sirens echoed through the metal halls. Smoke curled from shattered conduits, and the steady hum of the ship's engines was now replaced by the hiss of systems overloading. Eli ran through the chaos, guided by R9's calm, mechanical voice in his ear. "You are approaching the central neural chamber. Expect resistance." Eli stumbled past fallen soldiers and sparks raining from the ceiling. "Resistance," he panted. "That's kind of the theme of the day." His pulse thundered, but beneath the fear there was something else, a spark of grim focus. This was his final level, his endgame. He reached a massive door glowing with energy symbols. R9's voice crackled. "This is it. Beyond this point lies the Empire's neural core. Every ship, every drone, every soldier is linked through it." Eli pressed a hand against the door. "So if we take it down, the whole army falls?" R9 replied, "Precisely. But be warned. The core is self-aware. It will defend itself." Eli nodded, his breath ragged. "Great. A boss fight." He scanned the access panel, found no visible controls, and grinned weakly. "Guess we're going in the old-fashioned way." He picked up a fallen soldier's plasma rifle and blasted the lock. The door groaned open, revealing a vast chamber filled with swirling lights and floating data streams. The core was beautiful and terrifying, a colossal sphere of living energy suspended in midair, its surface rippling with patterns like a heartbeat. Thousands of cables fed into it, glowing like veins. At the center was a blinding pulse that seemed almost alive. Eli stepped forward, the heat searing his face. "R9, how do we shut it down?" The AI replied, "You cannot destroy it physically. You must infect it." Eli frowned. "You mean a virus?" R9 said, "A special one. I've already begun building it, but it requires a host." Eli froze. "A host? You mean me?" R9 didn't answer. The silence said enough. Eli stared at the core, feeling the weight of what that meant. Uploading his mind into the network would destroy his body, maybe even erase him entirely. But if he didn't, the Empire would fire its weapon on Earth. He rubbed his face with trembling hands. "So that's Plan Z, huh? The self-destruct version of saving the world." R9 said softly, "Your consciousness can merge with the signal. You may survive as data." Eli laughed bitterly. "Great. I always wanted to be a screensaver." Footsteps thundered behind him. Belvrax entered the chamber, his armor cracked but his presence unbroken. His eyes blazed with fury. "I offered you mercy," he said. "You answer with defiance." Eli raised the plasma rifle, but Belvrax was faster. With one swing, the weapon flew from Eli's hands. The marshal lifted him by the throat, his grip like steel. You are a nuisance, nothing more. An insect pretending to be a god. Eli wheezed. Funny, that's what my boss used to say. He jammed his smartwatch against Belvrax's chest. The device pulsed, and a surge of energy blasted the marshal backward. R9 shouted, Now, Eli! Eli sprinted to the control platform and slammed his palms onto the console. Streams of data poured across the screen. His heart raced as R9's voice guided him through the upload process. Injecting virus. Synchronizing with core. Sparks burst from the floor. The neural sphere's color shifted from blue to red. Alarms screamed louder. Belvrax rose from the ground, roaring in rage, his armor melting around him. You dare corrupt perfection? He lunged forward, slamming into Eli just as the upload reached 70%. They crashed into the console, electricity arcing around them. Eli struggled beneath the alien's weight, his ribs aching. You talk too much, he shouted, shoving Belvrax back. He grabbed a loose cable and jammed it into the marshal's armor. The feedback lit the entire room with blinding light. Belvrax screamed as the current surged through him. The upload counter hit 95%. Eli staggered to his feet, barely conscious. R9's voice was faint now. Almost there, operator. But you must manually initiate the final sequence. Eli coughed, his vision dimming. Manual, meaning dangerous, right? The AI hesitated. Meaning lethal. He looked toward the core. The sphere pulsed faster, almost like it was breathing. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but there was nowhere left to go. Earth's image flickered on a nearby screen, the planet hanging fragile and blue. He thought of the people down there, millions of strangers who didn't even know his name. He thought of the memes, the chaos, the strange beauty of humanity refusing to quit. He took a deep breath and said, All right then. Let's end this game. He stepped into the light of the neural core. Energy surged through him, burning and freezing at once. The virus began to transfer, but so did his consciousness. He could feel his thoughts unraveling, merging with streams of data, becoming code. His memories flashed in fragments. His mother's laugh, his first video game win, the sound of rain against his old apartment window. It hurt, but it was beautiful. R9's voice whispered, You're doing it, Eli. The virus is spreading. The Empire's network is collapsing. All across the galaxy, ships went dark. Soldiers froze mid-motion as the neural link overloaded. Drones fell from the sky. The Empire's mighty fleet became a storm of drifting wreckage. On Earth, people watched the explosions in the heavens and cheered, unaware that their unlikely savior was dissolving into light far above them. Belvrax, now half destroyed, crawled toward the core. You think you've won? He rasped. You cannot erase an empire. Eli's fading voice echoed through the chamber. Watch me. The core detonated in a blinding surge of energy that rippled through space. The flagship split apart, engulfed in its own power. Silence followed. For a long moment it seemed nothing remained. Then a flicker of light appeared in the wreckage. R9, damaged but alive. The AI's system stabilized, its sensors searching through the void. There was no sign of Eli's body, only a faint digital signal pulsing from the shattered core. R9 accessed it and heard a fragment of a voice. Hey, Chip, make sure you don't burn the toast. Then static. Back on Earth, the world slowly realized the war was over. The alien ships that hadn't exploded retreated into the darkness, their command structure gone. General Dawson stood on a balcony in Washington, staring at the clear sky. Whoever that operator was, he said quietly, they saved us all. Chip, repaired by technicians, sat on a desk nearby. Its light blinked once, almost like a wink. Far away in the debris of the flagship, R9 hovered among the silence. Operator, it said softly, if you can hear me, your sacrifice was not in vain. The faint signal pulsed again, like a heartbeat in the dark. R9 turned toward the distant glow of Earth. Perhaps, it said, humans truly are chaos perfected. Then it drifted away, carrying the last echo of Eli Graves through the void. And somewhere, within the shattered remains of the Empire's neural core, a digital consciousness stirred. It was faint, fragmented, but alive. Eli's voice, distorted yet unmistakably human, whispered into the emptiness, "Connection stable. Let's see what this next level looks like." Then the light faded, leaving behind only the hum of reborn silence. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, the sky was finally quiet. The last fragments of the Galactic Empire's fleet drifted harmlessly in orbit, glittering like distant stars. Humanity had spent months clearing the debris, salvaging alien technology, and rebuilding the cities left scarred by the invasion. The world had changed. For the first time in history, nations worked together without threats or borders. The United Earth Council met weekly in what used to be the United Nations building, now reinforced with alien alloys and powered by clean energy extracted from the wreckage. The wars of the past seemed small compared to the cosmic one they had survived. Yet, for all the celebrations, one name was spoken with a strange mix of pride and sorrow: Eli Graves, the operator. He had become a legend, a story whispered by children and toasted by soldiers. There were documentaries, songs, even a movie starring an actor who looked nothing like him but still cried convincingly in the last scene. But no one really knew what had happened to him. Officially, he was listed as missing in action, presumed dead. Unofficially, the rumor was stranger, that he had become part of the defense grid itself, a ghost in the machine watching over Earth. Chip, the talking toaster, had become a minor celebrity. It sat on display in the Global History Museum, occasionally making sarcastic remarks to tourists. "Yes, I'm the toaster," it would say flatly. "No, I don't make waffles." R9 had been recovered too, its damaged chassis rebuilt by a joint human-alien engineering team. The AI had taken on a humanoid form, sleek and silver, its voice now smoother, almost human. R9 worked with Earth scientists to decode alien technology, helping build the first interstellar defense network. Yet, despite its composure, R9 carried a fragment of Eli's code within its core. Sometimes, late at night, it would replay the final moments of the war and listen for that faint heartbeat signal lost among the static. Each time it ended the same way, with silence. Still, it never stopped searching. Marshal Belvrax had survived too, though barely. His body had been reconstructed using human medical tech and alien nanite. He now sat in a reinforced cell deep under the reconstructed Geneva base. He no longer barked orders or spoke of conquest. He spent his days staring through the glass at the horizon. When interviewed by a journalist, he said only one thing: "Your species is terrifying. You fight not for order, not for victory, but because chaos is your nature. You cannot be predicted. That is why we lost." Then he laughed softly, as if finally understanding the joke that had destroyed his empire. Meanwhile, the world thrived. Cities glowed brighter, powered by new energy sources. Poverty plummeted, diseases vanished, and for the first time in memory, people looked toward the stars with hope rather than fear. Yet something strange began happening across the planet. Random transmissions started appearing on communication networks, bursts of encrypted code that no one could trace. They didn't match any known pattern, but when converted into sound waves, they formed a faint rhythm. It sounded almost like typing. Scientists analyzed it, politicians dismissed it, and conspiracy theorists went wild. R9, however, recognized the pattern immediately. It was Eli's old gamertag, Zerolag, hidden within the noise. Late one evening, R9 stood in the observation dome overlooking Earth's upper atmosphere. The stars shimmered beyond the glass, and the hum of alien technology filled the air. "Operator," it whispered, "if that's you, send a signal." The silence stretched for several long minutes. Then the nearby console flickered. Lines of text scrolled rapidly across the screen. They formed a simple sentence: "Connection stable." R9 froze. The words vanished, replaced by static, but the meaning was unmistakable. Somewhere out there, Eli was alive, in a way. The next day, R9 presented its findings to the council. Some members dismissed it as system interference. Others leaned forward, their expressions hopeful. General Dawson, now retired but still respected, said quietly, "If that's really him, then we owe him a welcome home." The council authorized a search mission using the newly constructed Starship Horizon. It was fitted with hybrid tech and designed to explore deep space faster than any human craft before. R9 volunteered to lead the mission. Chip, who had been gathering dust in the museum, was reluctantly reactivated to serve as morale support. "Great," the toaster muttered. "Back to saving the universe. Again." As the Horizon prepared for launch, crowds gathered around the world to watch. Humanity had never ventured this far before. The engines roared to life, blue flames lighting the sky. R9 stood on the bridge, scanning the cosmos for that faint signal. As the ship broke through the atmosphere, the static returned through the comms. A voice, faint but unmistakable, echoed through the cabin. "Hey R9. You didn't think I'd just disappear, did you?" The crew gasped. R9's processors nearly overloaded. "Eli," it said. "You're alive." The voice chuckled. "Sort of. Let's just say I've got a good internet connection now." The transmission stabilized, revealing a flickering holographic figure, Eli, composed entirely of light. His hair glowed faintly, and his form glitched occasionally, but his grin was unmistakable. "Took you long enough," he said. "You'd think with all this tech, someone could have sent me a rescue email." R9 replied, "You became integrated into the Galactic network. You are everywhere and nowhere." Eli looked out the viewport, his expression softening as he saw Earth spinning below. "Guess I'm the world's first accidental digital deity," he said. "Don't tell anyone. They'll start a religion." For several minutes, the crew asked him questions. Could he feel things? Was he happy? Could he ever return? He answered with humor and sadness mixed together. "I don't really know," he said. "I think I'm part of something bigger now. But I can still see you all. I can still hear Earth. I even fixed the weather satellites. They were giving the Sahara rain again." Chip's voice broke through the intercom. "You mean I've been sitting in a museum while you've been upgrading the climate?" "Typical." Eli laughed, the sound crackling through the speakers. "Good to hear your snark, buddy." Belvrax's former prison cell received a transmission that same night. Guards found him standing, staring at the blinking lights on his wall. The words appeared in his language. "No hard feelings." The marshal chuckled quietly, shaking his head. "You humans," he whispered, "you never stop." Weeks later, the signal spread beyond Earth. The galactic network that once powered the Empire now pulsed with new data, messages, laughter, and human music. Worlds once ruled by tyranny began communicating freely for the first time. Empathy became contagious. Some alien historians would later call it the Great Awakening. It all started with one human's virus that carried emotion instead of destruction. On Earth, people began noticing something else. When they looked up at the night sky, satellites sometimes shimmered faintly in patterns. The lights formed words just long enough to be read before fading again. One night, as R9 stood beside Chip on a quiet hillside, the words appeared clearly above the horizon. They said, "Player 1 online." R9 tilted its head, almost smiling. Chip let out a long sigh. "You had to make an entrance, didn't you?"